Welcome everybody to a new Living Life Naturally podcast. We're so thrilled to have you here, and today we're going to talk around the topic of people in midlife, people in menopause. I think as women, we need a little extra help in that area. So today we have Esther Avant, and she is a health industry veteran with over 18 years of experience in fitness, nutrition, and wellness related roles. She's known for making exercise and nutrition simple and that's the best way. As simple as you can keep it, the more effective it is. And then she helps her clients address the root issues that have been standing between them and results that are lost. So important in this day and age where our healthcare provider will give us limited resources and we just need to go that a bit further. So her Gone for Good framework has helped hundreds of people lose weight for the last time and start living their healthiest, happiest, most confident lives. Her business, EA Coaching, provides a full spectrum of health and lifestyle coaching through a combination of exercise, nutrition, lifestyle, and mindset strategies. Esther is also a boy mom and a Navy wife. Great, because I was an Air Force wife for many years, 22 years.
Wow.
And you have lived and traveled all over the world while running your coaching program. So I think that that's amazing that as military wives, we can be where our husbands are and we can still run our businesses very effectively. So I really appreciate that. And I thank you for your years of service because it's easy to thank our military men, but we so often forget the wives and the families. Having been there and lived it myself, I know how important our role is and how much a good support system is needed for our guys while they're in that situation. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you as well.
So, what got you into this specific type of work?
Originally, I just wanted to get paid to work out and be in the gym, which is what led to my majoring in exercise science in college, and very quickly realizing that I was so out of my beyond my depth with classes that I had very little time to work out. So, despite learning about exercise all the time, I put on a lot of weight in college. And over the last couple of decades, my career has just evolved kind of based on what I was doing at the time. So originally I started personal training. And as I was working with clients, for an hour or two a week, I started to realize that I needed to be able to talk about nutrition with people because the exercise was great, but it's not enough. Exercise alone isn't enough to really make a drastic change in your health, especially with your weight. So that's when I started pursuing the nutrition piece of it. And at the same time, I'm in my mid 20s. I'm kind of struggling with my own over exercising, under eating, like not really understanding how to be healthy and happy and confident myself. And it got more and more frustrating as I knew more of the science and like the textbook information, but was still struggling to make it click in my actual life. And that's what led me down the road of understanding more about the psychology of behavior change and how to not just help myself, but help other people take the science and apply it to their unique lives. And that's sort of where the trifecta came from of course, the exercise and nutrition stuff matters, but I consider that sort of the tip of the iceberg. That's what we see, that's what we talk about, that's what we think about. But there's this whole mess of stuff underneath the surface that is really sort of like pulling the levers. And that's your overall lifestyle. That's your mindset. That's your belief in your ability to be successful. Those are the root issues that make showing up for your workouts, eating the foods that you planned so difficult to do consistently. So that's where I've found the bulk of the work is. So that's why I really hone in on make exercise and nutrition simple. Focus on just, I call them the big rock habits, the ones that make the the biggest impact.
Mm.
If you're only focusing on a few things, then you have more bandwidth available to really assess what's making it hard for me to do these few things. And then I can address those root issues. And what I found over the years is that when we take that approach with health, you also realize how applicable it is to your career, to your personal life, that there's sort of a formula to it. And once you realize it, you can break any goal you have down into those steps and just kind of rinse and repeat.
How do you find, or do you find that it changes when you work with women in midlife or menopause?
Yeah, there are definitely changes. There are absolutely physiological changes. I think one of the biggest things, though, is what we've sort of been conditioned to believe about that time in our lives. Everything from media to social media to even our doctors. It just sort of feels like we're supposed to accept this is what becoming an old woman is like. You gain weight, you have hot flashes, you feel crappy, and that's just like, well, just deal with it. I think one of the biggest challenges of working with midlife women is helping them realize that it doesn't have to be that way. Yes, there are changes happening to our bodies that are beyond our control, but there are still so many aspects of our lifestyle that we do have control over, and that those can mitigate the symptoms we're feeling, that gaining weight is not an inevitability. And in fact, although the majority of women do gain weight in menopause, it's usually only about 10 pounds. So I think often menopause becomes kind of the scapegoat for anything that's happening between, 40 and 60 is menopause is to blame. And a lot of it is our lifestyle choices, which can be sort of a double-edged sword because on one hand, it feels better to have something else to blame. But on the other hand, it's really empowering to recognize there are things I can do to make myself feel better and to thrive in the second half of my life. And you're so much better off focusing your energy on those things. What can I do to reduce the symptoms that I'm experiencing? What can I do to have more energy, to really feel like I'm thriving? And the beauty of it is the same, kind of rules apply regardless of your age. How much you're eating still drives whether or not you're going to lose weight. Focusing on your protein and your fiber is still going to help you be able to lose weight without being hungry all the time. It's going to help you retain muscle that is so, so important, especially as we age. It's going to help you eat an overall nutritious diet. Strength training still helps you maintain your muscle mass and your bone density and be strong and independent. So it's not that I think something a lot of women say is like what used to work doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And that it's not untrue, but it's almost because what we used to do wasn't even necessarily the best approach at the time. It just it did work. So a lot of women will, try to eat very little and do a lot of jogging and then find like, how come this isn't working? It's just that, you should have been prioritizing strength training all along. So these aren't drastic changes. It's just that a lot of women haven't adopted them earlier. And it's making that switch from, oh, but like I used to just jog and the weight would fall off. Why can't I just do that now? And it's just sort of like accepting things are different now and I have to be willing to approach them differently if I want to be successful.
Yeah, I'm laughing because, I see that even in my own life and as a coach. I mean, I know what to do. It doesn't mean it always works. And a funny thing is, I had started gaining some weight and I had been really sick and I had gained some weight. And I thought, I've done it before. I'm just going to do some intermittent fasting. Now, it's nothing for me to here and work on my computer, do podcasts, and not even think about eating. Doesn't bother me not to eat in the day. So I'm like, well, I should do really well with this because, I can fast all day and then, evening, have my meal and snack. I gained about a pound every day. And so, my body just doesn't obviously do well with that. And that's so important for us in these midlife years to learn to know our body so that we can know what does work and what doesn't work for us. Because as you say, what works for one thing for one person may not work for somebody else. Obviously, intermittent fasting is off my radar for a while, and now I'm struggling to remember to eat 3 times a day. And you have to be um, willing to do what it takes. It might take a while to figure out, or what is it that works for me, but you've got all the basic principles in what you're talking about, and it just takes some tweaking. And I think that should be an encouragement to women, to know that if you listen to your body, it not only affects you with your weight, but it helps with those mood swings. It helps with the brain fog that we have when we recognize it, and we maybe eat something that gets rid of the brain fog for a while. Then why don't we do that again? And sometimes we do have that. We're stuck in that thought that everything's so different at this age and I just can't do it. But you absolutely can do it.
I totally agree. And I think, probably a lot of the women both of us work with just kind of want to be told what to do. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And it's so appealing. But the reality of it is there are a lot of different tools, there are a lot of different strategies, and you and your body and your lifestyle are unique. And there is just always some trial and error, some experimentation involved in figuring out what's going to work for you right now. And knowing that in the future that may be different, but that the plethora of tools that you have access to is a really empowering thing. And rather than looking to someone like a coach and saying, just tell me the answers,
Yeah.
a coach is a partner. A coach comes alongside you, but ultimately what you want to be doing is building your personal owner's manual. You don't come with one. It'd be nice if you did that said, turn to page 47 and find out what to do in menopause. That doesn't exist. So the more attention you can pay to exactly what you said, listening to your body and getting in tune with what you need, the more successful you're going to be. So that's where tracking any sort of data comes in, whether you're keeping a food journal, whether you're keeping record of your perimenopause symptoms, whether you're trying to make sense of which foods are causing, some sort of discomfort. The more data you can collect, the better off you are to then start making those connections between, oh yeah, I always feel bloated after I eat this thing. Maybe I won't. Or I always feel really energized after this breakfast. Let me eat that more often. You're piecing it together for yourself, and the answers are out there. And people always say, I've tried everything and nothing works. And I just want to respond to that with, if you tried everything, something would have worked. So it means there is still more that you can do, and you might not know how yet. And that's where having help can come in. But you are never truly stuck and just have to throw up your hands and accept your fate.
And of course, you probably get this question as much as I do. For menopausal women, do they have to give up carbs and wine?
No, the not completely, but a couple of, reality checks, especially regarding alcohol. It's just not doing us any favors. And please don't misconstrue that for me saying you need to abstain completely and quit cold turkey. If it brings you joy and you want it to be part of your life, it can be to an extent. That said, we're all better off if we figure out the minimum amount of alcohol that enhances our quality of life and that we can sort of get by with. Because there is a whole cascade of consequences of drinking. Physiologically, because your body considers alcohol a poison, it prioritizes metabolizing it over everything else. So if you're trying to lose fat and you're drinking, you are effectively pressing pause on the fat loss anytime there's alcohol in your body to be dealt with. So that to me is you've really got kind of two opposing things, and which one are you choosing more often? Not to mention the fact that when you are perimenopausal, you're probably having trouble sleeping. It's exacerbating that. You may be struggling with low energy. It's exacerbating that. Your inhibitions are going to be lowered. You're more likely to then eat excessive calories or
Mhm.
drink more, you're going to then have worse sleep. You're not going to wake up and have an active day the next day. Just the way it snowballs can be really shocking. And I think often we don't give ourselves enough of a break from it to feel how much better we can feel without it. So anyone who feels like I couldn't give up my wine, I would offer that that's an opportunity to dig in a little bit and figure out why is it that I feel so attached to this thing that is undeniably making my life harder and making it harder for me to feel good and reach my goals. Maybe it means, going a month without it and seeing how different you feel and assessing from there. Maybe it means giving yourself more parameters in terms of I don't drink when I'm at my house, I don't drink by myself. I limit myself to, one or two on the days that it's really worth it. Just being more stringent with how often you indulge in alcohol. Carbs are a little bit different because our bodies want carbs and they're our preferred energy source. So I think a lot of women do end up sort of shooting themselves in the foot by trying to go too low carb and then understandably feeling really low energy and then being like, how come I can't work hard in my workouts or I'm not PRing on my Peloton or I'm just feeling so exhausted all the time? Carbs serve a purpose. And also, we do become more sensitive to them in perimenopause. So what I would offer is to just prioritize your starchier carbs around your workouts and at meals further from your workouts when your body is going to, it doesn't have as much of a purpose for them if you're not super active. You stick to more of like your leafy greens, your vegetables for carbs, but it certainly does, carbs certainly aren't bad. You shouldn't be trying to avoid them completely. It's just being a little bit more strategic. And that goes hand in hand because a lot of the carbs people are eating are really these hyper palatable, high carb, high fat, high salt snack foods that we lump into the carb category. But in reality, they're these calorie bombs that are really tasty and easy to overeat. And it doesn't serve any of us to eat half a box of Cheez-Its. It's not the carbs' fault. It's the excess of the surplus of energy in the first place.
Mhm. And what other aspects of health do you see that are overlooked, and how can they help improve energy, the level of our energy, our moods, and weight loss?
That's a great question. First one that comes to mind is sleep, which is one that I feel like people
Yeah,
almost just kind of dismiss as like, yeah, yeah, that'd
yeah.
be nice, but like that's not for me. It is. We really need sleep, and everything is better and easier when you're well rested. And I do understand it's it's not always that easy. Whether you're in your, you know, 20s, 30s and you've got newborns at home, or you're in your 40s, 50s and you're struggling with, insomnia, hot flashes, the ability to fall asleep and stay asleep in the first place. I know that most people would say, if I could sleep more or better, I would be. But we also, I think, sort of accept that poor sleep again, like we were talking about earlier. We just sort of like accept that is part of the deal as we get older, and we don't make as good of an effort as we could
Mhm.
to ensure that we get good sleep. So we kind of dismiss like, yeah, yeah, I know I need like a cold, dark sleeping area. I know that, white noise might help. I know I shouldn't look at screens before bed. And then it's like, but, but I'm not doing any of those things consistently. And here's my reasons why. So I think prioritizing sleep is one that kind of the opposite of alcohol has this like positive cascade where it's like you then maybe you don't need to wake up to this jarring alarm that starts your day off with kind of, a frenzy. Maybe then you wake up and you actually feel like you have the energy to do your workout and you work harder, you feel more accomplished, you want to make better nutrition choices. It just everything can can be impacted positively by sleep, not to mention the fact that lack of sleep contributes to increased hunger hormones, not feeling as satisfied when you do eat, craving carbs. So it's all connected. That's one of the big things. And I think another is the importance of just kind of protecting like your mental health, your peace, your sanity, whatever you want to call it, in terms of setting boundaries, saying no to things, recognizing that you deserve to be a priority in your life. So many of the women that I work with are used to being there for everyone in their lives and putting their own needs on the back burner. And I think one of the most important things that has such a positive impact is to recognize that you're worthy and deserving of the time and energy it takes to take care of yourself, and that everybody else is going to be better off for it too, because you're going to be happier and healthier and have more energy and all those things. So often when you learn to set and uphold boundaries, when you learn to speak up for yourself, voice your opinion, express your needs to the people that are in your life, you in turn find it much easier to do the things that you need to take care of yourself. It's easier to exercise if you've had a conversation with your spouse to say, I'd like you to, to watch these kids these 2 nights from this time to this time so I can get out and get a workout, whatever it is. When you take care of your mind, it's easier to take care of your body.
Absolutely. So you've mentioned a lot of things. So if our listeners would just say, listening to this, absorbing what you've mentioned, what would be your suggestion for their best place to start?
I love that question. Obviously, it's going to vary from person to person. There's going to be somebody listening who's like, I'm already doing this. So the first thing I would say is take 5 minutes and do a quick reflection on your past week. You know something that you could have done a little bit better that would help you be a little bit healthier. Maybe you know you didn't drink enough water. Maybe you know you didn't get outside as much as you would have liked. So I want to empower you to make your own choice and just pick one small thing that you know would have an impact in your life. It could be a small thing that you're just like, this is kind of low hanging fruit. I can do this right away, feel good about it, kind of get some momentum going. Or it can be like the big kahuna where it might take more effort, but it's going to give you a lot of bang for your buck, like addressing your sleep. So that's kind of my caveat to this. But I would say if you are not already, one of the simplest things you can do is just start walking more. If you are in a cold place, put your jacket and your hat and your boots on. If you are in a hot place, don't do that. But it's very easy to just walk more. You don't need a pedometer or a step counter. I think they're helpful because, again, tracking information is useful, but just take note. Do I get up and take and do intentional movement in that way at all during the day? If not, my goal is 5 minutes tomorrow or today. If I'm already doing it, can I get 500 steps more than I've averaged over the past week? Just something that's a little bit more than what you've been doing. I think on the movement front, steps is a great place to start. I'd say on the nutrition front, one of the pretty much across the board things that I see is we are lacking fiber in our diets. We want 25-ish grams per day. Most of us are getting about half that. So focus on adding a fiber source just to one of your meals. If you don't know fiber sources, we're talking protein. We're talking fruits, veggies, whole grains, legumes. You can Google fiber sources, start adding those to your diet, and gradually increasing until you're at that 25-ish mark.
Awesome. So where's the best place for people to find you?
I have a podcast called To Your Health. I also wrote a book this year that really dives into the Gone for Good formula that we kind of touched on earlier. It's also called To Your Health. It's available wherever you buy books. And you can find me on the internet, estheravant.com, Instagram and Facebook, just my full name.
Okay. I'll put all those links in the show notes. And I will give your podcast a listen sometime this week.
Thank you so much.
So I really want to thank you for coming on today. And, there's so many things that you can talk about when it comes to midlife, but I think we've touched on some really important things today. And so I appreciate that.
I've loved our conversation. Thank you so much for having me.
You have been listening to the Living Life Naturally podcast, where we're on a mission to inform, inspire, and encourage women to live their best life confidently, joyfully, and freely from what's been holding them back. For show notes and free resources, visit holistic-healthandwellness.com. And I'd be delighted if you'd follow us on socials to connect further. If you enjoyed this show, why not share it with your friends? If you found good value, chances are they will too. And of course, a 5-star review on iTunes is always greatly appreciated, as much as I appreciate you listening. So until next time, live life naturally and joyfully.